Hey everybody, welcome to the introduction episode of Black Jewel Podcast. My name's Dr. Alexis Davis. Throughout this season, you'll hear me referred to as Dr. A, Dr. Reliable Jewel, and Dr. Lex. I am a clinical psychologist, and I recently just graduated. So this episode is really just going to explain who I am, how I got into psychology, talk about Black Jewel, the mission, and what we're going to be doing. And then just what you guys can expect from Black Jewel, the podcast, and just a little bit of what we're going to roll out. So I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. I grew up literally throughout Kansas City. I lived with my mom on 8th and St. John, then moved to 35th and Benton, then moved out south to 93rd and Terrace. So I love Kansas City. It's actually a love type of love. Not hate, but love, dislike relationship. And I think because of the experiences that I had, like my parents not raising me because of their mental illnesses or not being able to raise me. But I am grateful for my aunt and my grandmother who did raise me. Super grateful. But by the time I got to my senior year of high school, I think I had just been through so much mentally and physically that I really knew that I needed to remove myself from Kansas City in order to heal myself. And in order to be able to come back and actually feed into the city in the way that I wanted to and needed to, and not come from a place of anger when I think of Kansas City, or a place of hurt, or, just for me, just experiencing so much, I mean, even before the age of 10, it really jaded my outlook. And being in this space where I am now, I can really look back and see, like, I was in a dark space for a very long time. And I just knew that I needed to get into a different type of environment. And so if I could just stop right here and just encourage somebody, like, if you are in an environment or in a space where you aren't feeling your best, if you're noticing that, you're having all these thoughts that don't serve you well when you're preparing to go to this place, while you're in this place, really look within yourself to see what you need to give yourself. I think that is so important for us as Black people right now, is to start examining what is it that I need in this moment and how can I cater to myself. So my senior year, retroactively looking at my senior year of high school, I think I was in that space. Like, I was very much in the big crit. I need to get away from that bullshit that they own. Like, that was my mentality. So I didn't apply to any schools in Missouri or Kansas. I was like, look, I need to be away. And for the longest, Clark Atlanta University was where Alexis was going to be. But things happened. I got accepted, but ended up choosing not to go there. I was going on my way to Johnson C. Smith University. And then, the universe always shows out and gives you what you need, and sometimes even what you want. And so I remember Mr. Paul Pearson, shout out to Mr. Paul, recruiting for Philander. A Philander recruiter at the time that I was a senior in high school. And so I remember that he came to my high school, Hickman Mills High School, and he was just talking about Philander. And mind you, I had never been to Little Rock. I had just probably gone to Arkansas maybe a couple years before, but I was in Paraloma, Arkansas, which is very rural. And so my outlook of Arkansas was like, oh, it's a real country place. Like, I don't know if I would want to do 4 years there. But the way that Mr. Paul just sold it, and then he put the coins behind selling it through scholarship, and I just remember committing that day to go to Philander with knowing nothing about Philander Smith College. I remember calling my aunt like, yeah, so I'm going to go to Philander. They're offering me more money than Johnson C. Smith, and yeah. So that's how I got to Philander, and I really think that every step along my journey thus far has been divine, because the people I met there, the mentors I gained there, have just really helped shape and mold me into who I am. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't like mention some of them. And I know that I won't maybe remember or recall everyone. So I'm just going to do an overall shout out to everyone at Philander Smith College, everyone that was there between 2009 and 2013. I just want to really shout you out, because regardless if you impacted me in a positive, negative, neutral, whatever type of way, you impacted me, and I'm grateful for that. And it shaped the experience in my life to get me to this point. And I think we have to honor both our pain and our progress and our, accomplishments. And so I just want to do that. But so when I got to Philander Smith College, I just remember being super nervous because I got to the orientation late. I had my basketball shorts on, my big t-shirt, and my bonnet. It just was a lot, right? And I really didn't know what to expect about college. Up until that point, I have people in my family who are educated. So it's not like, my parents don't have college degrees, but my aunts and my uncles on my mom's side do. And so I knew college was my next step, but necessarily what college entailed was kind of new to me. And then going so far away from home was also new to me. And trying to balance how much of Kansas City Alexis I wanted to bring to Philander and how much I wanted to just focus on shifting and growing. And so I met Dr. Patricia Griffin because at the time she was the chair of the Department of Psychology at Philander. And she really took me under her wings and guided me throughout my time at Philander. Her, in addition to Dr. Aldermore, the entire Department of Psychology, Sociology, really took me under their wings, and I'm forever grateful because I never saw what they saw in me. I never saw, Dr. Alexis Davis. I knew I wanted to become that, but if I'm being true and authentic in this moment, I did not believe that it could happen. I knew I could graduate college, but I did not believe that I could go to grad school, let alone get a PhD. So it really took people feeding into my life at Philander, whether it was spiritually through Reverend Ronnie Miller Yao and Mama Yao, the entire Wesley congregation, and all the people at Philander that did that, like Dr. Kimbrough, Mrs. Kimbrough, Reverend Yao, Sora, now I can say Sora Lovelace, Mama Wilkins, and I could go on and on and on, but the Philander Smith College family, Dr. Joseph Jones, bruh, God really placed people in my life to hold a mirror up to me and start getting me to reflect, am I truly being the person I want to be? And how can I shift that? How can I shift that narrative? So I remember, I've always just been this person who wants to do a lot of things and who keeps busy, and that really keeps me sane. So I remember my first year just kind of finding organizations, psychology club, Bless the Mike Street team. And I was just very active, but there was still this void. And I feel like I wasn't being true to myself. I was just trying to be active more so than just trying to figure out what is good for me and what organizations fit me, which is probably why I was such a complainer my freshman year, because I wasn't being authentic. So, that's something to check ourselves, if we're being authentic in how we're presenting in life. But anyway, I know I just went on a side note, tangent. So Philander Smith College really just shaped me and molded me. It taught me that, no's are only preparation for yeses, and that no's are necessary. I remember my sophomore year. So currently I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to all my sorors. But my sophomore year, I went out for Delta. And shout out to the Gamma Gamma chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the mother chapter in the state of Arkansas. And I got a no my first year. And I just kind of knew I was going to get a yes, but I got a no. And up until that point at Philander, I feel like that was like my first major no. And it rocked my core. But it also caused me to do a lot of reflection and a lot of just like, what am I doing and why am I doing things? Like I knew I wanted to be a Delta because of the history, and I loved the sisterhood. I loved all of the values, the mission of Delta, the tenets that we stand on. So I was very secure in my decision of Delta. However, it just caused me to really assess other things in my life and why I was moving the way I was moving and, what I was doing. I remember like getting that no and literally booking a flight through Delta Airlines, ironically, to go home because I just didn't want to be in that space. And I just wanted to really process, where I was. So my junior year, fast forward to junior year, I apply again for Delta and I get a yes. And I feel like I was just in a more authentic space. So I just say that to say, like, telling that story to say, like, no matter what no you're in, use that to really reflect on yourself so you can see how you can manifest the yes. And what I mean by that is like by me getting that first no with Delta, I really was able to reflect like, okay, Alexis, like you've lost this part of yourself. And, that's not a bad thing because that's something that maybe you could have shed, but what did you use to replace that? How are you feeding yourself? How are you, refilling your cup? Because the goal is not to be given from your cup, but to give from the saucer. So if you know what a saucer is, that's the little fancy plate my granny would set her cup of coffee on. So you want to give from the saucer, like, and that just means your cup is always overflowing. And I feel like I had been giving from my cup for so long that I had gotten to a depleted point, where I just had nothing left. And so I really had to assess and figure out how I wanted to start filling my cup. And so that started coming through internship experiences. Louisiana State University does this pre-doctoral scholars institute for the summer. And somehow I stumbled across it, and I'm saying made the mistake, but I made the right choice to tell Dr. Griffin about it. And of course, she's going to hold me accountable to this dream. And so she agreed to write the letter of recommendation, sent me in the route to have other people write letters of recommendation. She made sure that my CV resume was in order, my personal statement was in order, and many other people did too. But Dr. Griffin, in this psychology thing, she was fundamental, right? And at this point, so I got accepted. I started doing research in like severe mental illness and Black population. So I was looking at schizophrenia in the Black population, right? Because that's where my parents, like that's my connection. So I'm still very much interested in severe mental illness. And that's connecting with me, but it's kind of like helping me heal my trauma. Like it's helping me understand a lens of my parents, and what they were going through and what that meant for me as a child. Me going through this process and actually going to these different internships helped me understand myself. And what that meant and how my experiences shaped me get to this point. And so my personal statements talked about that, right? And it influenced the type of research I wanted to do. So I wanted to understand, like, what does it look like when a Black person walks into a clinician's office and they're displaying some of these symptoms of schizophrenia? And what does that look like if that clinician isn't Black? It made me just think of like what their experience was. So that research really helped. But I also met some pretty dope people. So network, that's also something that, this journey at Philander showed me is like you have to network your net worth. A friend during Philander will always say that, like network your net worth. And I really think that shit is true. So at LSU, that's actually where I met my producer for Black Jewel, Ronald Pikes.